Emergency dispatcher. What's the matter? What's the matter? Do you need an ambulance? Are you breathing okay? Is there anybody else there with you? If there's somebody else there with you, can you put them on the phone? Is this Willard? And you need an ambulance? Okay, stay on the phone. It's going to sound like I'm hanging up, but I'm not. I'm going to be dispatching an ambulance, okay? Okay, just stay on the ambulance with me. Stay on the phone with me.
At 9:47 p.m. on September 23, 2024, emergency dispatchers in Memphis, Tennessee received a frantic 911 call. On the other end of the line, a woman's voice struggled between desperate gasps for air. The caller couldn't form words, only managing labored breathing that grew weaker with each passing second. As the dispatcher tried to keep her on the line, the gasping became more spaced out until finally there was nothing but silence. The woman on the call was 35-year-old Latasha Marie Williams, a mother of 7 children, calling from her bedroom. She had been poisoned at her wedding, and the truth behind her death would shock everyone. Because the person who poisoned Latasha wasn't a stranger or an enemy from her past. It was her new husband's Sidechick, a woman he had been secretly seeing for just 2 weeks.
Who's that? Is that a neighbor? Is that your Who is that? Can you get to the door and let them in? Go to the door and let whoever that is talking, okay? Here. You can't get to the door. Okay, I'm sending an ambulance, okay? Don't hang up. You're going to hear some clicking. Don't hang up.
This is the tragic story of Latasha Marie Williams, a mother of 7 who thought she had finally found her happily ever after, only to have it stolen away in the cruelest way imaginable. Latasha Marie Williams was born on February 14, 1989, in Memphis, Tennessee, to her parents Sharon Williams and Thomas Williams. Born on Valentine's Day, her mother always said Latasha was destined to be loved. She was the youngest of 4 children, with 3 older brothers who protected her fiercely throughout her childhood. Growing up in the Orange Mound neighborhood of Memphis, Latasha learned early about both struggle and resilience. Her childhood wasn't easy. Her father worked double shifts at the factory while her mother cleaned houses to make ends meet. But despite the financial hardships, their small house was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of her mother's cooking. Latasha was known in the neighborhood for her bright smile and her ability to make friends with anyone. She had a natural warmth that drew people to her. In school, Latasha was an average student but excelled in subjects she was passionate about, particularly English and drama. Teachers remembered her as someone who always tried to see the good in people, sometimes to her own detriment. She had dreams of becoming a teacher herself one day, wanting to help children the way her favorite teachers had helped her. At 16, Latasha met her first serious boyfriend, Anthony, at a church youth group event. He was 18, had his own car, and seemed sophisticated to young Latasha. Despite her parents' concerns about the age difference, Latasha was smitten. By 17, she was pregnant with her first child, Destiny. The relationship with Anthony crumbled shortly after Destiny was born, leaving Latasha to navigate teen motherhood largely on her own. But Latasha refused to let motherhood derail her dreams. With her mother's help, she finished high school, walking across the stage with baby Destiny in the audience. She enrolled in community college part-time while working at a daycare center, determined to build a better life for her daughter. It was during this time that she met Marcus, a charming older man who seemed to adore both her and Destiny. Marcus was different from Anthony. He had a steady job, treated her well, and even talked about marriage. Latasha fell hard, and soon she was pregnant with her second child, Marcus Jr., but when she was 7 months pregnant, she discovered Marcus was married. The betrayal devastated her, but she picked herself up and focused on her children. This pattern would unfortunately repeat itself throughout her 20s. Over the next decade, Latasha had 5 more children with 4 different men. There was James, who gave her twins Jalen and Jaden but left when he decided family life wasn't for him. Then came Robert, who fathered her daughter Roberta but struggled with addiction and couldn't be the partner she needed. Deshawn seemed promising at first, giving her son Deshawn Jr., but his temper and controlling behavior forced her to leave. Finally, there was Carlos, who gave her youngest daughter Carlita but disappeared when he was deported. Each relationship started with promise and ended in heartbreak. Latasha married and divorced 3 of these men, always hoping that this time would be different. Her friends and family watched with concern as she gave her heart again and again, only to have it broken. But Latasha never became bitter. She poured all her love into her 7 children, creating a chaotic but loving household. By 2022, Latasha was 33 years old and working 2 jobs to support her family. She worked days at a nursing home as a certified nursing assistant and evenings at a grocery store. Her oldest, Destiny, was now 16 and helped with the younger children. Despite the challenges, Latasha kept her family together through sheer determination and love. She was known at her children's schools as the mom who never missed a performance or parent-teacher conference, no matter how tired she was. Her children were her world. Destiny was following in her mother's caring footsteps, wanting to become a nurse. Marcus Jr., 14, was a talented basketball player. The twins, Jalen and Jaden, 12, were inseparable and excelled in math and science. Roberta, 10, was the artist of the family. Deshawn Jr., 8, was the comedian who kept everyone laughing. And baby Carlita, 6, was everyone's princess. It was at the grocery store in early 2023 that Latasha met Derek Johnson. Derek was a 38-year-old truck driver who came in regularly during her evening shifts. He was tall, soft-spoken, and had kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. Unlike the men from her past, Derek took things slow. He would chat with her during her breaks, bringing her coffee and asking about her day. Derek was upfront about his own complicated past. He had been married once before and had 3 children of his own who lived with their mother in Arkansas. He had been divorced for 2 years and said he was looking for something real, something lasting. He didn't run when Latasha told him about her 7 children. Instead, he asked to meet them. The introduction was gradual. Derek would join them for Sunday dinners, bringing dessert and board games. He helped Marcus Jr. with basketball drills and attended Roberta's art show. He didn't try to be their father, but rather a friend who cared about their mother. For the first time in years, Latasha allowed herself to hope. Their relationship deepened over the months. Derek would call her during his long hauls, keeping her company during her late shifts. He sent flowers on her birthday and took the whole family to the zoo for Mother's Day. Latasha's children, initially suspicious of yet another man in their mother's life, slowly warmed to Derek. Even teenage Destiny admitted he seemed different from the others. By Christmas 2023, Derek proposed in front of the entire family during dinner. It wasn't fancy or elaborate, just Derek dropping to one knee in their crowded dining room, promising to love and cherish not just Latasha but her children too. Through tears of joy, Latasha said yes. Her children cheered, and for a moment it seemed like all the heartbreak had led to this beautiful moment. They planned a September wedding, wanting to save money for a nice ceremony. Latasha had never had a real wedding before, always settling for courthouse ceremonies. This time, she wanted the dress, the flowers, the whole celebration. Derek supported her dream, working extra shifts to help pay for it. They found a deal at the Peabody Hotel for their reception, and Latasha spent months planning every detail. But while Latasha was picking out flower arrangements and cake flavors, Derek had made a terrible mistake. In early September 2024, just 2 weeks before the wedding, he met 26-year-old Brittany Henderson at a truck stop bar. Brittany was everything Latasha wasn't: young, childless, and carefree. What started as innocent flirting quickly escalated into an affair. Derek told himself it meant nothing, just pre-wedding jitters. He never mentioned his upcoming wedding to Brittany, instead telling her he was single and interested. They exchanged numbers and met up several times when Derek's routes brought him through town. Brittany fell fast and hard, already imagining a future with this charming truck driver who seemed so interested in her. The truth came crashing down on Brittany just 3 days before the wedding. She had decided to surprise Derek at his apartment, only to find wedding preparations in full swing. When she confronted him, Derek tried to end things, saying it had been a mistake. But Brittany wasn't the type to be dismissed so easily. She had given her heart to this man, and finding out he was about to marry someone else sent her into a rage. September 23, 2024, dawned bright and beautiful. Latasha woke up in her childhood bedroom at her mother's house, surrounded by her daughters and bridesmaids. As they did her hair and makeup, she couldn't stop smiling. After all the failed relationships and heartbreak, she was finally getting her fairy tale wedding. Her dress, a beautiful ivory gown with delicate beading, made her feel like a princess. The ceremony at the church was perfect. Latasha's 7 children stood with her at the altar, each playing a special role. Derek's eyes filled with tears as he watched her walk down the aisle. His vows included promises not just to her but to all 7 children, vowing to be the stable, loving presence they deserved. There wasn't a dry eye in the church. The reception at the Peabody Hotel was everything Latasha had dreamed of. The ballroom was decorated in purple and silver, her favorite colors. A DJ played all her favorite songs and the dance floor stayed packed. Latasha danced with each of her children, her new husband, and her brothers. She was radiant, glowing with happiness that had been too long in coming. As the evening progressed, guests enjoyed the buffet dinner and open bar. Latasha, not much of a drinker, stuck to champagne for the toasts and switched to her favorite drink, sweet tea, for the rest of the night. The catering staff kept her glass filled as she mingled with guests, hugged relatives, and basked in the joy of the moment. Unknown to anyone at the reception, Brittany Henderson had been watching from the hotel lobby. She had found out about the wedding venue through social media, where Derek's cousin had posted pictures earlier in the day. Dressed in a server's uniform she had purchased online, Brittany blended in with the catering staff. Her heart burned with jealousy and rage as she watched Derek dance with his new bride. Around 8:30 p.m., Brittany saw her opportunity. Latasha had set her glass of sweet tea on the gift table while she went to bustle her dress in the bathroom. In those few moments, Brittany approached the table, pulled a small vial from her pocket, and poured its contents into the tea. The clear liquid dissolved instantly, leaving no trace. She then slipped out of the ballroom and left the hotel. Latasha returned from the bathroom and picked up her glass, taking a long drink. The tea tasted slightly bitter, but she assumed it was just her imagination, or maybe the catering staff had used a different brand. She continued celebrating, dancing with her new husband and children, completely unaware of the poison now coursing through her system. The reception ended around 6 p.m. with guests throwing birdseed as the newlyweds departed. Derek drove them to his house, the beautiful 4-bedroom home he had finished building just 3 months earlier. He had been so proud when he showed it to Latasha for the first time, telling her this would be their fresh start together. The kids had helped decorate it with "just married" signs earlier that day. They were both exhausted but happy, looking forward to starting their new life together. The children were spending the night at Latasha's mother's house, giving the couple their first night alone as husband and wife. The house represented everything Derek had worked for, a symbol of his stability and commitment to their future. He had chosen every detail with Latasha in mind, from the large kitchen where she could cook family dinners to the spacious backyard where the kids could play. He had even built a small office space where Latasha could manage the household bills and maybe start that online business she had been dreaming about. Back at the new house, Derek and Latasha changed out of their formal clothes, though Latasha kept her wedding dress on, not quite ready to let go of the magic. They ordered Chinese takeout, too tired to cook, and sat on the couch looking through the photographer's preview photos on his camera. Everything seemed perfect. Neither of them noticed that Latasha was drinking less of her food, or that she seemed more tired than usual. Around 8 p.m., some wedding guests who had traveled from out of town stopped by the house to say goodbye before heading to their hotels. They wanted to see Derek's new home and congratulate the couple one more time. Derek went outside to chat with them in the driveway, proudly showing off the house exterior and the landscaping he had done himself. The conversation stretched on as people shared stories from the reception and admired the craftsmanship of the home. Inside, Latasha had gone to their bedroom to rest, telling Derek she just needed to lie down for a few minutes. As Derek stood in the driveway of his dream home, settling some final payments with the DJ who had stopped by to return some forgotten items, Latasha was beginning to feel seriously ill. What had started as mild fatigue was now intense nausea and difficulty breathing. She tried to call out to Derek, but her voice was too weak to carry outside. Her phone was in her purse in the living room and she felt too dizzy to stand. The poison that Brittany had slipped into her drink hours earlier was now fully attacking her system. Unlike faster-acting poisons, this one had been chosen specifically to delay symptoms, ensuring Brittany would be long gone when Latasha fell ill. As Derek continued handling post-wedding business outside his new home, completely unaware of the crisis unfolding in their bedroom, Latasha's condition rapidly deteriorated. By 9:30 p.m., Latasha managed to crawl to the nightstand where Derek kept his old phone. With trembling fingers, she dialed 911. Her breathing was labored, each breath a monumental effort. When the dispatcher answered, Latasha tried to speak, but could only manage desperate gasps for air.
Emergency dispatcher. What's the matter? What's the matter? Do you need an ambulance? Are you breathing okay? Is there anybody else there with you? If there's somebody else there with you, can you put them on the phone? Is this Willard? And you need an ambulance? Okay, stay on the phone. It's going to sound like I'm hanging up, but I'm not. I'm going to be dispatching an ambulance, okay? Okay, just stay on the ambulance with me. Stay on the phone with me.
No words came out, just the sound of someone fighting for every breath. This is the 911 call Latasha Marie Williams made to the police before she took her last breath. The dispatcher could hear nothing but gasping, the sound of someone drowning on dry land. Latasha was completely inaudible throughout the call, unable to form a single word or sound beyond her desperate attempts to breathe.
You can't get to the door. Okay, I'm sending an ambulance, okay? Don't hang up. You're going to hear some clicking. Don't hang up.
The dispatcher tried to get her to tap the phone if she could hear them, to make any sound if she needed help, but all that came through was increasingly labored breathing. The dispatcher kept the line open, trying to trace the call, listening helplessly as the gaps between breaths grew longer. The gasping continued for several agonizing minutes, and was more disturbing to understand are other voices of people in the rooms next to where Latasha was dying. No one seemed to know what was happening in the same house.
Who's that? Is that a neighbor? Is that your Who is that? Can you get to the door and let them in? Go to the door and let whoever that is talking, okay? Here.
The dispatcher stayed on the line, repeatedly asking if anyone was there, if they needed help, trying to get any response that could help them understand what was happening. But Latasha couldn't speak, couldn't explain about the poison, couldn't tell them about the bitter tea at her wedding reception, couldn't even whisper her new husband's name or cry for help. All she could do was fight for each breath as her body shut down. As the minutes ticked by, Latasha's breathing became weaker, more irregular, until finally there was nothing at all.
I love you. Are you afraid like I was afraid? You're insane. That's reality. The world is coming. That's what it's going to be about.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, who is that? Can I talk to that person? Who is that in the background? Is that a relative? Okay, why won't she come on the phone? Okay, just stay in line with me.
Meanwhile, Derek was saying goodbye to the last of their guests, completely oblivious to the tragedy unfolding inside his new home. He picked up some trash from the yard, admired how the house looked with all the wedding decorations, and finally headed back inside around 9:55 p.m. He called out to Latasha, joking that their guests didn't know when to leave. When she didn't respond, he assumed she had fallen asleep. Walking into their bedroom in the house he had built for their future together, Derek found Latasha unconscious on the floor beside the bed, still in her wedding dress, clutching the phone. Her lips had turned blue and she wasn't breathing. In panic, he screamed her name, trying to shake her awake. He could hear sirens in the distance and realized she must have called for help. He began CPR, desperately trying to revive his bride while begging her to wake up. Paramedics burst into the house minutes later, finding Derek performing chest compressions while sobbing. They quickly took over, but it was clear that Latasha had been without oxygen for too long. They worked frantically administering medications and trying to establish an airway, but her body had already begun to shut down. As they loaded her into the ambulance, Derek climbed in beside her, still in shock. At the hospital, doctors tried everything, but the poison had done too much damage. At 10:23 p.m., less than 5 hours after their wedding reception ended, Latasha Marie Williams was pronounced dead. Her wedding dress, which she had refused to take off because she wanted to savor every moment of her special day, was cut away as doctors made their final attempts to save her life. Derek was in complete shock. He kept asking how this could have happened, how his healthy bride could have suddenly died in the new home he had built for their life together. When police began questioning him about the day's events, he mentioned that Latasha had complained about her tea tasting bitter at the reception but hadn't thought much of it. This crucial detail would become the key to solving her murder. The investigation began immediately. Police interviewed every guest, every member of the catering staff, everyone who had access to the reception. They reviewed security footage from the hotel and tested everything Latasha had consumed that evening. The breakthrough came when they found the empty vial in a trash can outside the hotel with Brittany's fingerprints on it. When detectives discovered the poison in Latasha's system during the autopsy, they knew this was murder. The type of poison used was specifically designed to have a delayed reaction, meaning whoever did this wanted to be far away when symptoms began. Security footage showed a woman in a server's uniform near the gift table around the time Latasha had set down her drink, though her face wasn't clearly visible. Further investigation revealed the affair between Derek and Brittany. Phone records showed dozens of calls and text messages between them in the 2 weeks leading up to the wedding. When police arrested Brittany at her apartment, they found searches on her computer for various poisons and their effects. She had specifically looked for poisons with delayed reactions, wanting to ensure she wouldn't be connected to the crime. During interrogation, Brittany initially denied everything. But when confronted with the evidence, she broke down. She claimed she never meant to kill Latasha, just make her sick enough to ruin the wedding. She said Derek had led her on, made her believe they had a future together. When she found out about the wedding, she felt her whole world crashing down. In her twisted logic, if she couldn't have Derek, neither could Latasha. Derek was devastated by the revelation. His 2-week affair had cost Latasha her life and left 7 children motherless. He admitted to the affair but swore he had no knowledge of Brittany's plans. The investigation supported his claims, but the guilt was crushing. He had promised to protect and cherish Latasha, and his betrayal, even though he hadn't known its consequences, had led directly to her death. The fact that Latasha had died alone in the bedroom of the house he built for their future while he was just outside made it even worse. The home that was supposed to represent their new beginning had become the scene of her death. If he had been inside with her instead of dealing with guests and wedding logistics, he might have noticed her symptoms earlier. If he had heard her calling for help, maybe doctors could have saved her. The what-ifs tormented him every day. The funeral was held a week later at the same church where Latasha and Derek had exchanged vows. This time, instead of a wedding dress, Latasha wore her favorite purple dress. Her 7 children sat in the front row, the older ones trying to be strong for the younger ones. Destiny, now 17, gave a eulogy about her mother's endless capacity for love and forgiveness. She spoke about how her mother had died in her wedding dress, still believing in love despite all the heartbreak she had endured. The community rallied around Latasha's children. Her mother Sharon, despite her age and health issues, took in all 7 grandchildren. Derek, drowning in guilt, tried to help financially but was told by Latasha's family to stay away. He couldn't bear to live in the house where Latasha had died, the dream home that had become a nightmare. The children were split between anger at Derek for his betrayal and grief for the only father figure who had ever shown them genuine care. The fact that their mother had died alone, unable to even speak during her desperate 911 call while Derek was outside the very house he had built for their family, made it even harder for the children to process. They struggled with the knowledge that their mother's last moments were spent gasping for air, unable to call for help or say goodbye. Brittany Henderson was charged with first-degree murder. During her trial in March 2025, prosecutors painted a picture of a woman consumed by jealousy who had carefully planned and executed a murder. They emphasized how she had chosen a slow-acting poison specifically to avoid suspicion, showing clear premeditation. The defense tried to argue it was a crime of passion, that Brittany had been manipulated by Derek, but the evidence of planning was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours before returning a guilty verdict. Brittany was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the verdict was read, she showed no emotion. In her twisted mind, she was still the victim. She never apologized to Latasha's children or family, maintaining that Derek had driven her to it. During the trial, the 911 recording was played and the courtroom fell completely silent. The sound of Latasha's desperate gasping, her complete inability to form even a single word to explain what was happening to her, left many jurors in tears. The dispatcher testified about how helpless they felt, listening to someone die without being able to help or even understand what was wrong. It was a stark reminder that while Brittany had planned the murder, she couldn't have imagined the cruel way it would unfold. The case made national news, highlighting the dangers of deception in relationships and how quickly jealousy can turn deadly. Talk shows discussed the warning signs of dangerous obsession. Dating apps added new safety features. But for 7 children in Memphis, none of that mattered. Their mother was gone, taken on what should have been the happiest day of her life. Today, Latasha's children are being raised by their grandmother and aunts. Destiny graduated high school and is studying nursing, determined to honor her mother's memory by helping others. She keeps her mother's wedding dress, unable to throw away the gown her mother loved so much she died wearing it. Marcus Jr. dedicated his basketball season to his mother, wearing her initials on his shoes. The younger children struggle with the trauma, receiving counseling to help them process their grief. Derek Johnson left Memphis, unable to face the consequences of his actions or live in the house where Latasha died. The house he had built with such hope and pride stood empty for months before he finally sold it, taking a huge loss. He sends money for the children but has no contact with them. He's reportedly in therapy, dealing with the guilt that he'll carry forever. His 3-day affair cost 7 children their mother and him any chance at redemption. The image of finding Latasha on the bedroom floor of their dream home haunts him daily. The master bedroom where Latasha died in Derek's house became a source of local legend. The new owners reported feeling a presence there and eventually had the room blessed by a priest. They knew nothing of what had happened until neighbors told them why the previous owner had sold so quickly and at such a loss. The Peabody Hotel retired the ballroom for several months, unable to host celebrations in a space where such tragedy had occurred. When it finally reopened, they donated a portion of proceeds from events to a fund for Latasha's children. The staff who worked at night still struggle with the knowledge that a killer had walked among them, disguised as one of their own. Latasha's story serves as a heartbreaking reminder of how deception and obsession can destroy lives. She had overcome so much, raised 7 children with love and determination, and finally found someone she thought she could trust. Her death wasn't just a tragedy for her family, but for everyone who believes in second chances and happy endings. The sweet tea glass that held the poison that killed her sat on the evidence table during the trial, a bitter reminder of how one person's jealousy can shatter so many lives. But perhaps the most haunting evidence was the 911 recording, not Latasha's voice, but the absence of it. Just desperate gasping as she died alone in a house that was meant to be filled with love and laughter, unable to speak, unable to call for help, unable to say goodbye to her 7 children who would grow up without her. Latasha Marie Williams deserved her fairy tale ending. Instead, her children will grow up without their mother, forever marked by the day their mother's wedding became her funeral. They'll always be haunted by the 911 recording played at the trial, their mother's final moments reduced to wordless gasps for air, dying alone in her wedding dress while the man who had promised to protect her stood outside, completely unaware. Her grave marker reads, "Loving Mother of 7 Angels," a testament to what mattered most to her. Fresh flowers appear there regularly, left by her children, former co-workers, and community members who remember her strength and kindness. Sometimes, late at night, Derek visits too, leaving flowers and apologies that Latasha will never hear, tormented by the knowledge that while he was outside the dream home he had built for their future, his bride was inside, unable to even cry out for help as she took her last breath. Let me know what you think in the comments section below.